Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism, narcissistic relationships, and healing from narcissistic relationships. So there's a lot of relationship advice out there, right? Let's talk a little bit about why this damn advice doesn't work for narcissistic relationships. So sometimes I think when I'm sort of in a masochistic mood, I read the stuff that relationship experts put out there. It makes me smile initially. I'm like, okay, I guess that would work. But then it saddens me because I know that many, if not most people who are in narcissistic relationships, especially in the early phase of narcissistic relationships, are desperate for knowing how can I make this relationship better? And they read it and they want to try it. I'll give you an example from my life of how this could work. I was recently trying to fix a camera that was outside my house that stopped working. I pulled it on and off. I plugged it on and off. I turned it around. I installed and uninstalled it. I did the little thing you're supposed to do with the computer and the phone. I called tech support. They said, well, we'll have you try it, do it yourself. I took a ladder out there. I followed all the directions they gave me for hours. Nothing worked. I tried everything for months. Then I had to pay someone to come out and fix it. When he got there, he looked at the camera and he had the tools and the intelligence to take the whole installation apart, and then he showed me that water had corroded the wire. The original installer used the wrong kind of wire, so it had been corroded, and there was nothing I could have done that would have fixed it. He fixed it quite easily, and he was on his way. The entire experience, because it went on for like 4 months, it frustrated me, but when he came and went, it also relieved me. I was frustrated because I tried everything. I almost fell off the damn ladder. I wasted many hours, and I was told by the tech support people that I wasn't checking things right. And there's no way there couldn't have been a light on the damn camera. That was all gaslighting, right? And only after I exhausted all the options myself were they finally willing to send a real human being out, who then told me there was nothing I could have done. It was broken. He had to fix it. And frankly, my broken camera story is actually better in terms of an outcome than a story would be for a person going through a narcissistic relationship. At least my camera got fixed. For a person in a narcissistic relationship, the best we have got is, yeah, there's nothing you could do. But there's no pro that can come in and fix it. Goodness knows I've tried and I couldn't do that for anyone. So I'm reading this article that was called "The One Thing You Never Want to Do in a Relationship If You Want It to Survive." And the person went on to talk about her wonderful 22-year marriage and all the things that she does as a relationship expert, which of course are going to work for you because you have oh so much in common with her. So I wanted to figure out what that one thing was. So you don't have to go through the clickbaited hell I did. Let's just cut to the chase of the one thing you should never do. Ready? You should never talk without pausing. So I guess she was trying to say you should stop and carefully consider what you say so you don't say something hurtful or dismissive. Actually, it's absolutely wonderful guidance for healthy couples that don't need that much help. Maybe they need a little tune-up, but that's it. That one thing that she's suggesting is not going to help any narcissistic relationship out there. If you pause, they're going to keep talking over you. Anyhow, they're going to keep talking. Or if you pause too long, they will tell you that you're being passive aggressive or giving them the silent treatment. In fact, you probably pause a lot in your arguments with a narcissistic partner because you are so confused. How's all that pausing working out for you? Now I was in the rabbit hole, right? So I keep reading the article to see what the other tidbits were. Because I could see that the first tip was never going to work for someone in a marriage or a long-term relationship with a narcissistic person. The other tips were to use a turning toward policy, which apparently means that you turn toward and face your partner when you're talking to them. The others were small acts of kindness, voicing gratitude, weekly dates. Okay, again, all of this is absolutely lovely guidance. It really is. I actually think it's not only just wonderful guidance for marriages. A lot of it could apply to friendships or close family. You could even tweak some of it for the workplace. I guess you lose the weekly date part, but the rest of it. Yes, we should always pause before we talk and take a minute so we don't say something we regret. We should respectfully face people when we talk to them. Be kind, be grateful. This is not theoretical physics, folks. but it becomes theoretical physics when we move into narcissistic relationships. The reason articles like this frustrate me, because it's not a bad article, she wasn't saying anything offensive, and the things she was saying were perfectly fine, but it frustrates me because people in narcissistic relationships feel so helpless that they go out there, they research stuff, they'll try anything, so they may start with this happily married relationship expert's advice and do this stuff. Well, the gratitude and then the kindnesses, the narcissistic person is going to interpret that as like, well, you're just giving me, like, yeah, of course you're treating me like this. That's the supply they feel entitled to anyhow. Then there's that whole turning toward part. Again, it's good human relationship hygiene to do that, but they may not. And you may still be talking to their back. And if you tell them to turn toward you and they don't want to do it, they will hit you with all kinds of dismissive stuff. The weekly dates, that's just luck. If they had a good day, you may have a nice time. But if you try to schedule something like this and it happens to meet up hits that they want to do, go out with friends or do something else that they prefer, trying to keep that weekly date on a schedule again means facing scorn and contempt. So you bring all this good stuff. How long is this sustainable if it is not being reciprocated? And for many of you, that answer may be decades because you have been doing it that long. But if you read an article like this, it's easy for survivors to feel that they haven't been doing it right, that they aren't being face forward enough or grateful enough or kind enough. Again, my frustration with articles like this is that ultimately they shame survivors and they don't frame any of this within a narcissistic abuse framework, that there's even a possibility of that. People who are not in relationships who need a tune-up. Folks in narcissistic relationships, this isn't about tune-ups, right? I started this channel in part because I got frustrated with the relationship shaming that happens. Are you trying hard enough? Are you thanking your partner enough? Are you being nice enough to your partner? Are you making them feel good enough? Are you facing them enough? Enough. Because all of that is with little regard for what it does to a person to do all of this in a relationship and more, and give up on themselves and never get any of the good stuff reciprocated. Until these so-called relationship experts recognize that the inflexibility, the rigidity, and the unchangeability of narcissism means that you will get nowhere and this will not change, they really need to put disclaimers on these articles. And that what survivors and people in narcissistic relationship need is a validation of their experience, permission for radical acceptance, realistic expectations, workarounds, building up other supports, and if you decide to leave, to validate that decision for them. I wish I lived in that world where it was that simple. It's not. And so for people in narcissistic relationships, stop going to the mainstream fix-it literature to get guidance to fix something that you cannot fix and that often ends up leaving you mired in shame and self-blame. I am happy for people who are in the healthy relationships that can thrive after a few date nights and thank yous. Folks, that's not this. So again, it doesn't feel good, and it would be nice if these articles could be framed in that way, but that wouldn't be as catchy, would it? Thanks again.